Have you ever poured your heart into something, maybe a dream, a relationship, a job, and then you face rejection? That moment feels like the world has slammed the door on you. And in that silence that follows, your mind starts to race. Why me? Did I fail? Am I not enough? Friends, today I want to share with you a little secret, a truth that many of us struggle to accept. Rejection is not a reflection of your worth. It is life's gentle way of steering you towards something better. But to see it, you need to pause the noise, embrace the silence, and practice a little thing called acceptance. Yes, acceptance. Not bitterness, not overthinking, but quiet, humble acceptance. Because when you accept rejection, something magical happens. You stop wasting energy resisting life, and you start creating space for progress, for growth, for joy. Have you ever noticed how life has a way of nudging us in directions we never imagined? You think you're heading straight for a goal, pouring your heart and soul into something, believing this is the only path that can make you happy. And then suddenly life slams a door shut. A job you desperately wanted slips away. A relationship you hoped would last ends abruptly. Or an opportunity you were counting on simply disappears. In that moment, the first reaction is almost always pain, confusion, maybe even anger. Why me, we ask? What did I do wrong? And yet, in the midst of that heartbreak, there's a deeper truth quietly waiting to be discovered. Rejection is not a dead end, it is a redirection. Imagine a small child trying to learn how to ride a bicycle. Child wobbles, falls, scrapes their knees, and sometimes in frustration refuses to get back on. But every fall, every rejection of confidence is not a signal that the child will never ride. It is a guide. A lesson showing what balance feels like, what strength is needed, what adjustments must be made. Life works the same way. Every door that closes, every no that comes your way, is like life softly saying, this path is not ready for you yet. There is another way you haven't seen. Consider the story of someone who applied for their dream job multiple times and was rejected again and again. On the surface, it looks like failure. But years later, that same person might realize that being turned down led them to a career they never even considered, one that fits their talent perfectly, gives them joy, and allows them to impact lives in ways they could not have imagined before. Life's redirection is subtle. It may sting at first, but it's often leading us toward our truest purpose. Even in relationships, the same principle applies. When someone we deeply care for walks away or refuses us, it is easy to dwell on the loss, to feel unworthy, to ask, why me? Yet if we pause and reflect, we might see that this rejection was simply life redirecting us to someone whose heart resonates more closely with ours. In the years ahead, we may meet a person who brings out the best in us, someone whose timing is perfect, someone whose love is aligned with the life we are meant to live. The rejection we felt so painfully at first was actually protection, steering us towards something better. Even daily small rejections, like a project not going as planned, a friend not inviting you to an event, or an idea being ignored, are practice for understanding this principle. Each of these moments, while seemingly insignificant, teaches us patience, humility, and perspective. They remind us that life has its own flow, and our task is to navigate with grace rather than resistance. When we see rejection as redirection, we stop feeling victimized by life. Instead, we start trusting the intelligence of the universe, or God, or whatever higher force we believe in, knowing that there is a bigger plan at work, one that we cannot always see in the moment. The key to embracing this truth is perspective. It is the ability to look back on past disappointments and recognize that they were often blessings in disguise. Perhaps you did not get into the school you dreamed of and it hurt. Yet you ended up in a different place with teachers, friends, and experiences that shaped you more profoundly than your first choice ever could have. Perhaps your idea of failure feels personal, like a reflection of your worth, but it is not. It is merely life's way of pointing you in a direction where your gifts can flourish more fully, where your energy can create greater impact. Redirection also requires trust. It asks us to believe that just because life closes a door doesn't mean it has abandoned us. It asks us to release the grip of control, to stop demanding that life follow our script, and to allow it to guide us with wisdom, beyond our understanding. This is not easy. The mind resists change, the heart mourns loss. But when we learn to see rejection as guidance rather than punishment, fear transforms into curiosity, disappointment transforms into openness, and despair transforms into hope. So the next time life says no, instead of collapsing under the weight of it, take a moment, breathe, step back and ask yourself, what might this be redirecting me toward? What unseen path could this open? When we adopt this mindset, we move from resistance to flow. Every rejection becomes an invitation, a gentle push toward our highest potential, toward experiences, opportunities, and relationships that align more deeply with who we are meant to be. Remember, a river never stops because a stone blocks its path. It flows around it, carving a new course, shaping the landscape in beautiful ways. In the same way, rejection is not an obstacle. It is life's way of reshaping us, guiding us, and leading us to places we might never have imagined. Embrace rejection, trust the redirection, and watch as life unfolds with a wisdom far greater than you could ever plan. One of the greatest struggles we face in life is the constant measurement of our value through external outcomes. We pass exams, achieve targets, receive appreciation, or fail at tasks, and almost instantly, our minds equate these results with our worth. I succeeded, therefore I am enough, we say, or worse, I failed, therefore I am not enough. But friends, let me share a truth that can transform your life. Your self-worth is not determined by what happens to you. It is already inherent, it is already complete. Think about a child learning to paint. The first strokes are messy, colors mix unexpectedly, and the shapes rarely resemble what they intended. If the child equates their worth with the painting, they might feel discouraged, embarrassed, or even ashamed. But a child doesn't do that. A child keeps painting, laughing at the colors, exploring, experimenting. Their joy is not in the perfect outcome, but in the process, in the act of creating. That is a lesson for all of us. Life's value is in our living, not in the results we achieve. Every day, we see countless examples where people tie their self-esteem to outcomes. A student gets a grade lower than expected and feels worthless. An employee misses a promotion and questions their competence. A person faces rejection in love and wonders if they are unlovable. These reactions are natural, but they are also a trap. When we tie our sense of self to outcomes, we surrender our inner peace to forces often beyond our control. We allow life's ups and downs to dictate our happiness, instead of anchoring ourselves in a stable awareness of our inherent worth. Imagine an athlete training for months for a marathon. They wake up early in the cold, push their body through fatigue, and endure the pain of countless runs. On the day of the race, they may not finish first or even reach the finish line in the time they hoped. If they measure their value by the medal they did or did not receive, the months of discipline, courage, and resilience seem meaningless. But if they detach their self-worth from the outcome, they can see the true victory, the strength they built, the mental endurance they cultivated, the character they developed. The medal is simply a bonus, not the measure of their value. Detaching self-worth from outcomes does not mean becoming passive or indifferent. It does not mean giving up ambition or effort. On the contrary, it allows us to give our best without fear of judgment or failure. When we stop obsessing over approval, accolades, or recognition, we can act with authenticity, creativity, and joy. We can pursue our dreams for the sheer love of the journey, not merely for the applause at the end. Even in relationships, this principle is crucial. When we depend on someone's love, acceptance, or validation to feel worthy, we live in constant anxiety, fearing rejection or abandonment. But when we understand that our value is intrinsic, we approach relationships from a place of fullness, not neediness. We love freely, we give without expecting, and we accept others as they are without clinging to their approval. This is the E, sense of emotional maturity and inner peace. Every small practice of detachment strengthens this inner foundation. When a friend disagrees with us, when a project doesn't go as planned, or when criticism comes our way, we can pause and remind ourselves, my worth is not defined by this. It is like building a fortress inside our mind, a place where no external circumstance can shake the awareness that we are enough just as we are. Consider someone who has faced repeated professional failures. Each rejection could feel like a personal attack, eroding confidence and self-esteem. But when that person realizes that their value is not in a single job, a single title, or a single decision, they become resilient. They continue learning, continue growing, continue showing up for life with dedication and courage. The world may recognize them at times and overlook them at others, but their inner worth remains untouchable. Detachment also teaches humility. When we stop equating worth with success, we stop comparing ourselves with others, we celebrate their victories without feeling diminished, and we find contentment in our unique path. It is in this detachment that we cultivate gratitude, compassion, and a deep, unwavering sense of self-respect. So the next time life presents a success or failure, pause and reflect. Acknowledge the outcome, learn from it, but never let it define you. Your worth is not earned, it is not given, it is inherent. Like the sun that shines regardless of whether anyone notices. Like a tree that bears fruit without asking for applause. Like a river that flows irrespective of the obstacles in its path. You too have an innate value that is constant and eternal. When you anchor yourself in that truth, rejection, failure, and even criticism lose their sting. You become free, you become resilient, and you become truly unstoppable. Remember, life will always present outcomes we cannot control, but the power to recognize our worth is entirely within us. Detach from the external, embrace the internal, and watch how this simple shift transforms fear into courage, doubt into confidence, and life itself into a journey of joy, purpose, and self-discovery. Have you ever noticed how much noise surrounds us every single day? Not just the literal sounds, the honking of cars, the chatter of people, the blaring of notifications, but the noise in our minds, the constant chatter of thoughts, worries, comparisons, and doubts. It never stops. We wake up and immediately the mind starts scrolling through fears, anxieties, and what-ifs. We try to plan the day, anticipate problems, and replay past mistakes. By the time the sun sets, we are exhausted, not because of physical labor, but because of mental noise, the ceaseless storm inside us. And in that storm, clarity is lost, peace is impossible, and even small decisions feel overwhelming. Pausing the noise is not just a luxury, it is a necessity. Imagine trying to listen to a whisper in a crowded market. You can't hear it over the chaos. But the moment the market quiets down, the whisper becomes clear, resonant, and meaningful. In the same way, life is constantly whispering guidance, opportunities, and insights, but we miss them if we never pause to listen. Rejection, challenges, and failures are often life's whispers telling us there is a better way, but if our minds are cluttered, we cannot hear. Consider the story of someone who constantly checks their phone, scrolling through social media, comparing their life with others, reading every comment, absorbing every opinion, every rejection, every negative news headline, every trivial inconvenience becomes magnified in this environment of noise. The heart becomes restless, the mind confused, and the soul weary. But when they take juice, 10 minutes a day to sit in silence, to breathe, to observe their own thoughts, without judgment, something remarkable happens. The chaos begins to settle. The perspective returns. The realization dawns that most of the noise is not reality. It is a story our mind is telling us. Even in our daily routines, noise affects our decisions. A student preparing for an exam may hear constant advice from teachers, peers, family, or even social media, leading to stress and confusion about which method is correct. A professional may hear endless opinions at work, leaving them indecisive or anxious about their choices. A parent may be pulled in multiple directions by the expectations of children, spouse, and society, losing sight of their own intuition. In all these cases, the solution is the same: pause. Pause the external noise and, more importantly, pause the internal noise. Create a moment of stillness, even if it is brief, to reconnect with your inner compass. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is a mirror. When you pause the noise, you start seeing yourself more clearly. Your values, your desires, your strengths, and even your mistakes. realize that not every opinion matters, not every challenge requires immediate reaction, and not every problem is permanent. You begin to distinguish between what is urgent and what is important, between fleeting discomfort and meaningful learning. The noise fades and wisdom emerges. Think about nature for a moment. A river flows effortlessly, not because it shouts or struggles, but because it moves with calm persistence. A tree grows quietly, absorbing sunlight, drawing water, and developing roots deep into the earth. Birds sing, winds blow, seasons change, all in perfect harmony with the rhythm of life. Nature doesn't hurry, it doesn't panic, it doesn't overthink, and yet everything unfolds beautifully. When we pause the noise in our lives, we align with this natural rhythm. We begin to move with clarity and intention, rather than reacting impulsively to every disturbance. Pausing the noise also gives us the power to respond rather than react. Life will always throw challenges. Someone may insult us, a plan may fail, or circumstances may seem unfair. If our minds are noisy, the first reaction is often anger, fear, or regret. But in moments of silence, we create space to breathe, to observe, and to choose a response that reflects our values, not our emotions. It is in this pause that strength is born, and true resilience is cultivated. Even small daily practices can help us pause the noise. Taking a few deep breaths before responding to a stressful email, sitting quietly for 5 minutes after waking up, going for a walk without music or phone, or simply observing nature, all these moments create pockets of stillness. They teach the mind to settle, to notice the subtle messages life is giving, and to approach challenges with a calm heart. When we learn to pause the noise, we also gain clarity about rejection, failure, and setbacks. We understand that life is not about controlling every outcome, but about navigating it with awareness. We recognize that most fears are imagined, most judgments are temporary, and most chaos is external, not internal. The silence allows us to reconnect with ourselves, to trust the wisdom within, and to move forward with confidence and peace. So the next time life feels overwhelming, when rejection stings, when criticism bites, when confusion clouds your mind, take a pause. Silence the world for a moment. Silence your thoughts. Listen not with your ears, but with your heart. In that stillness, answers will come, courage will rise, and the path ahead will become clearer. Because in life, the magic is not in running faster, shouting louder, or reacting more fiercely. Magic is in pausing the noise, embracing the silence, and letting the truth within guide every step you take. Life by its very nature is unpredictable. Every day brings new challenges, small disappointments, and unexpected twists. One day everything seems to flow effortlessly. The next, even the simplest tasks feel like mountains to climb. It is in these moments, when the weight of uncertainty presses on our hearts, that resilience becomes our most valuable companion. But resilience is not something that appears overnight. It is not a magical shield we are handed when life gets tough. Resilience is a muscle, and like every muscle, it requires daily practice, training, and patience. Think of a young child learning to walk. The child falls countless times, scrapes their knees, and cries in frustration. But each fall is not a failure, it is practice for resilience. The child gets up again, steadies themselves, and tries once more. Eventually, they walk, then run, then explore the world with confidence. This is a simple yet profound lesson. Resilience is built in the small, everyday acts of courage. The moments we rise after a stumble, try again after failure, and continue moving forward even when the path seems uncertain. In our adult lives, resilience often manifests in less visible but equally important ways. Imagine someone who wakes up every morning to responsibilities that feel overwhelming. Work pressures, family obligations, health concerns, or financial stress. The noise of life can feel relentless, and yet those who practice daily resilience find ways to navigate each day with determination. They may start by setting small goals, like completing a task before noon or responding to challenges with patience rather than frustration. Over time, these small actions accumulate, and the mind begins to see difficulties not as obstacles, but as opportunities to strengthen inner resolve. Daily resilience is also about emotional training. Life will inevitably bring rejection, criticism, or disappointment. A friend may let us down, a project may fail, or a dream may be delayed. When faced with these moments, it is easy to succumb to negativity, to question our worth, or to withdraw from effort. But practicing resilience means responding differently. It means acknowledging the pain, feeling it fully, and then consciously choosing to move forward. It is the difference between a storm tossing a boat aimlessly and a sailor adjusting the sails to navigate safely to shore. Resilience is our ability to steer even in turbulent waters. Consider the story of someone training for a marathon. Each day brings fatigue, muscle soreness, and mental fatigue. Some days the temptation to give up is overwhelming, but they persist, taking one step at a time, trusting the process. Over weeks and months, their endurance grows, their confidence deepens, and what once felt impossible becomes achievable. Life works in the same way. Every small effort to persevere, every act of courage in the face of discomfort, builds the capacity to handle larger challenges in the future. Resilience is not about never falling, it is about rising each time we fall. Even the simplest routines in life can be opportunities to practice resilience. Waking up early when we would rather sleep, responding with patience when provoked, completing tasks despite fatigue, or maintaining integrity when shortcuts are tempting. These seemingly minor choices train the mind to withstand pressure, to adapt, and to keep moving forward with steady determination. Over time, these daily practices become habits, and habits shape character. The resilient person does not wait for life to be easy. They cultivate the strength to thrive even when life is not. Resilience also requires perspective. When life delivers setbacks, it is easy to see them as punishments or personal failures. But resilience allows us to view difficulties differently, as lessons, as opportunities for growth, and as tests of our inner strength. A student who fails an important exam may initially feel defeated. But with daily resilience, they learn to study differently, manage stress better, and approach challenges with a wiser, more patient mind. They understand that failure is not the end, it is practice for the victories that lie ahead. Practicing resilience daily also deepens our relationship with ourselves. It teaches self-discipline, patience, and courage. It reveals that our strength is not determined by external circumstances, but by how we respond to them. Each day we rise after a small setback. We reinforce the truth that we are capable, adaptable, and unstoppable. Over time, this inner strength becomes a source of peace, confidence, and joy, even amidst uncertainty. Finally, resilience is contagious. When we face life with courage and persistence, we inspire others to do the same. Our friends, families, and colleagues witness our ability to keep going despite setbacks, and they too begin to believe in the power of daily perseverance. In this way, resilience not only transforms our lives, it radiates outward, creating ripples of courage and hope in the world around us. So, the next time life presents a challenge, remember that resilience is not a trait reserved for a few extraordinary people. It is a practice, built one day at a time, one choice at a time. It is the commitment to rise, to persist, and to keep moving forward no matter how heavy the load. The more we practice daily resilience, the stronger our spirit becomes, and the more we realize that no setback, no rejection, no obstacle can ever truly define us. Life may test us, but daily resilience ensures that we always emerge stronger, wiser, and more capable than we were yesterday. Rejection is often one of the hardest experiences to face, whether it comes in the form of a declined opportunity, a failed exam, a missed promotion, or even a relationship that doesn't work out. The sting of hearing no can feel personal, painful, and even discouraging. Yet, if we take a step back and pause for a moment, we realize that every no in life carries with it a profound lesson. Life is not merely about what we achieve or fail to achieve. It is about what we learn along the way. And the greatest teacher often comes in the disguise of a rejection. Imagine a young entrepreneur who pitches their idea to multiple investors. only to face rejection after rejection. Each no can feel like a brick in the chest, weighing them down, shaking their confidence, and tempting them to give up. But if they shift their perspective and treat every no as feedback, as guidance rather than judgment, something extraordinary happens. They begin to understand what the market truly wants, what their idea may be lacking, and how to refine their approach. The rejection is no longer a roadblock. It is a stepping stone. In fact, the final investor who says yes often does so not because the idea suddenly became perfect, but because the entrepreneur learned and evolved through every single no that came before. Even in daily life, we encounter countless small no's that can teach resilience, patience, and insight. Perhaps a friend declines an invitation, or a colleague disagrees with your proposal. These moments, while seemingly minor, are training grounds for emotional intelligence. They teach us to respond with grace, to respect differing opinions, and to find alternative ways to connect or achieve our goals. The key is to shift from a mindset of disappointment to a mindset of curiosity. Instead of asking, "Why me?" we can ask, "What can I learn from this experience?" Think of students preparing for competitive exams. When a student receives a low score, the initial reaction may be frustration, shame, or despair. But the wise student looks beyond the score. They analyze mistakes, understand where preparation fell short, and adjust their study methods. That no or that failure is not a verdict on their intelligence or potential. It is a guide, a mirror showing them the areas where they can grow. By embracing every rejection as a lesson, they convert disappointment into opportunity and frustration into motivation. Learning from every no also cultivates humility. Life has a way of teaching us that we are not always in control, that our expectations may not always align with reality. When we accept rejection and examine it with an open heart, we become more grounded. We stop taking things personally. We stop blaming ourselves excessively, and we begin to see the bigger picture. The universe, in its mysterious wisdom, often uses these rejections to redirect us toward paths better suited to our strengths, passions, and purpose. Consider the story of a writer who submits their manuscript to publishers, only to receive rejection letters time and again. Each no could feel like a condemnation of their talent. Yet, if the writer chooses to see each rejection as feedback, they might realize that certain elements of their story need clarity, pacing, or stronger characters. With each revision, the manuscript becomes sharper, more compelling, and closer to its full potential. Eventually, when it is finally accepted, the success feels sweeter, not in spite of the rejections, but because of them. Every no became a teacher, shaping the final outcome in ways that a smooth, effortless journey never could. Even personal relationships can offer this lesson. When someone turns us down, ends a friendship, or steps away, it can hurt deeply. But if we pause and reflect, we often discover that the rejection is not a reflection of our inadequacy. It is an alignment lesson. It shows us who truly belongs in our lives, who values us, and where our energy is best invested. Every no in relationships teaches discernment, patience, and the courage to keep our hearts open without clinging to what no longer serves us. Learning from every no requires patience and self-compassion. It is easy to become bitter, to dwell on what was lost, and to resent life for its refusals. But the person who thrives sees every rejection as a signpost, a guide, a nudge from the universe saying, "There is a better path ahead. Look for it, learn from this, and keep moving." It transforms the narrative from one of victimhood to one of empowerment. Rejection is no longer an endpoint. It becomes a beginning, a chance to reflect, adapt, and grow stronger. Ultimately, the art of learning from every no is the art of life itself. It teaches us resilience, humility, patience, and wisdom. It reminds us that success is not an overnight occurrence, but a journey shaped by setbacks, persistence, and learning. It shows us that the voice of rejection is not meant to discourage us, but to guide us toward greater clarity, strength, and purpose. So, The next time life says no, do not recoil in fear, frustration, or self-doubt. Pause, reflect, and ask, what is this teaching me? How can I grow from this? When we adopt this mindset, every rejection becomes a gift, every setback becomes a lesson, and every no becomes a stepping stone toward a life of deeper understanding, greater courage, and boundless potential. One of the heaviest burdens we carry through life is the desire to be liked, to be accepted, and to gain the approval of others. From childhood, we are taught to seek validation, praise from parents, recognition from teachers, admiration from peers. As adults, this pattern continues in more subtle ways: promotions, social media likes, compliments, and recognition at work or in communities. Slowly, without even realizing it, we build our self-worth on the shifting sands of other people's opinions. And when those approvals are withheld, or worse, withdrawn, the weight of disappointment can feel crushing. But here's a truth that can liberate us. The moment you stop chasing everyone's approval, you reclaim your freedom, your peace, and your power. Consider a student who constantly seeks the approval of teachers and classmates. They study not for learning, but to be praised. They dress, speak, and behave in ways dictated by what others might like. At first glance, it seems harmless, but slowly, the student loses touch with their own passions, values, and authentic self. The approval of others becomes a drug, addictive and fleeting. One day, a teacher criticizes them, a friend disagrees, or a parent expresses disappointment, and suddenly, their entire sense of self crumbles. Their happiness was never truly theirs. It was borrowed, contingent on someone else's opinion. This pattern repeats in professional life. Many of us work tirelessly not because we are passionate about our work, but because we want recognition, awards, or acknowledgement. We say yes to projects that drain us, take on responsibilities that rent ours, and mold ourselves to fit expectations that are not aligned with our true calling. In the short term, it may bring approval, promotions, or applause. But the deeper cost is the erosion of authenticity, the quiet dissatisfaction that grows inside, and the slow, almost invisible loss of connection with our own heart. The moment we stop chasing everyone's approval, something extraordinary happens. Freedom enters our lives. Freedom from comparison, freedom from judgment, freedom from the constant anxiety of pleasing everyone. When we no longer hinge our happiness on the fluctuating opinions of others, we begin to live from a place of authenticity. We make choices that resonate with our values, speak our truth without fear, and pursue goals that truly matter to us. Life becomes lighter, our energy becomes purer, and our joy more sustainable. Even in personal relationships, this principle is powerful. When we constantly seek validation from friends, partners, or family members, we create relationships based on expectation rather than connection. We give love conditionally, adjusting ourselves to gain favor, and in the process lose sight of who we truly are. But when we stop seeking approval, we bring authenticity into our interactions. We love freely, express ourselves honestly, and attract people who appreciate us for our genuine selves. In this space, relationships become richer, deeper, and more fulfilling. Think about the lives of creative people, artists, writers, musicians, or innovators. Many struggle in the early stages of their work because the world does not immediately approve or recognize their vision. If they constantly chased approval, most would quit, altering their vision to conform to others' tastes. But those who persist, who create for the love of creation rather than for recognition, often leave a legacy that outlasts generations. Their AR, their ideas, and their impact are not contingent on fleeting praise. They are rooted in authenticity. Life rewards courage and originality far more than compliance and conformity, even in the smallest daily choices. This lesson matters. Saying what you truly feel instead of what is socially acceptable, following your own passions instead of what is trendy, or standing by your principles even when unpopular, all of these are acts of liberation from the chains of approval seeking. Each time we act with authenticity rather than approval in mind, we strengthen our inner compass, build confidence, and cultivate self-respect. Over time, we begin to notice that the people who matter, those who truly value us, gravitate naturally toward us, while the rest drift away. And that is the beauty of letting go of approval. It aligns your life with people, opportunities, and experiences that truly belong to your path. Chasing approval also distracts us from inner growth. When we are preoccupied with what others think, we rarely pause to reflect on our own strengths, weaknesses, and potential. The mind becomes noisy, filled with comparisons, envy, and fear of judgment. But when we release the need for constant validation, we create space to observe ourselves, learn from our mistakes, and nurture our own growth. We become the authors of our own lives rather than actors performing on the stage of other people's expectations. Ultimately, the journey to stop seeking approval is a journey toward inner freedom. It is a recognition that your worth is intrinsic, that your happiness is your responsibility, and that life is too short to live for others' opinions. It takes courage to walk this path, to say no when pressured, to stand by your truth, and to follow your own heart. But the reward is immeasurable: peace, clarity, confidence, and a life lived on your terms. So the next time you feel the urge to seek approval, pause and ask yourself, am I doing this to please others or to honor my own path? The answers may be uncomfortable at first, but they are the doorway to liberation. Stop chasing everyone's approval. Free yourself from the weight of judgment. Speak your truth, follow your heart, and watch as life opens doors that approval could never provide. Freedom, joy, and authenticity await those who dare to live for themselves rather than for everyone else. Life is a journey, yet so often we forget this simple truth. We focus on destinations, on goals, on milestones, on what we haven't yet achieved, rather than appreciating the path we are walking every single day. We measure ourselves by where we are not, rather than celebrating the courage it takes to keep moving forward. But friends, embracing your journey is one of the most powerful lessons you can learn. It is the art of seeing life not as a series of failures and successes, but as a continuous flow of experiences, each carrying wisdom, growth, and meaning. Imagine a young artist just beginning their craft. They look at masterpieces around them, comparing their work to that of others, and feel inadequate. I am not talented enough, they tell themselves. I will never reach that level. Yet, in truth, every brushstroke, every imperfect sketch, every experiment in color and form is part of their journey. Each moment of struggle is building skill, patience, and resilience. When they embrace the journey, they stop obsessing over the end result and begin to find joy in the process itself. The mistakes, the setbacks, even the criticism, they all become stepping stones, shaping not just their art but their character. Our journeys are rarely linear. Life does not follow a straight road. It twists, turns, and sometimes feels like it is going backward rather than forward. A student may fail an important exam. A professional may be passed over for a promotion, or a relationship may end unexpectedly. In those moments, it is easy to feel lost, to question our direction, and to doubt our worth. But embracing your journey means understanding that these detours, delays, and obstacles are not punishments. They are part of the terrain that shapes you, teaches you, and prepares you for the moments ahead. Just as a river carves its way through rocks and valleys to reach the ocean, the challenges along your journey are sculpting the strength, wisdom, and resilience you need to reach your own horizon. Even in small everyday experiences, embracing your journey transforms your perspective. Consider a parent learning to navigate the challenges of raising a child. There are sleepless nights, tantrums, and moments of frustration. But if the parent focuses only on the destination, a perfectly behaved child or societal approval, they miss the beauty of each small moment. The first smile, the first word, the shared laughter. Life is happening in the now, in the journey, not in a distant ideal. When we embrace the journey, we notice these moments, cherish them, and let them nourish our spirit. Embracing your journey also requires patience. In a world obsessed with instant success, social media highlights and rapid achievements, it is easy to feel behind, inadequate, or frustrated. Yet life unfolds at its own pace. A young professional may feel envious of a peer's rapid career growth, a musician may grow impatient seeing others' success, or a writer may despair over slow progress. But when we embrace our own journey, we stop measuring ourselves against others. We understand that our timing is perfect for the lessons we need to learn, the experiences we need to gather, and the growth we are destined to achieve. Patience becomes not a passive waiting, but an active trust in the process of life. Think of an athlete training for a long-distance run. Every early morning, every sore muscle, every day of pushing beyond comfort is part of the journey. The medal at the finish line is not the only achievement. The discipline, resilience, and self-discovery along the way are equally, if not more, valuable. The journey itself transforms the athlete into a stronger, wiser, and more capable person. Life works in the same way. The path is as important as the destination, and embracing the journey allows us to learn, evolve, and become the best version of ourselves. Embracing your journey also teaches gratitude. When we stop resisting our circumstances, comparing ourselves to others, or wishing life were different, we begin to notice the gifts within our path: supportive friends, small successes, lessons learned from failure, and the strength gained from adversity. Gratitude shifts our focus from scarcity to abundance, from complaint to appreciation, from despair to hope. Every step, every challenge, every moment, when embraced fully, becomes a source of growth and joy. Finally, embracing your journey is about self-acceptance. It's about acknowledging that you are exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what you need to do, and learning exactly what you need to learn. It is about finding peace in the process, courage in the struggles, and joy in the growth. When you embrace your journey, life stops feeling like a race and begins to feel like a beautiful